The mailbox to me stresses me out in some ways. I mean, it's like this pile of paperwork that's sitting on my desk that you have to go through and read it all or respond to it or something. It's like work. Like I feel like emails become work. I tend to work off the top of my mailbox. It's like if you're not in the top 30 emails, and it's the next day and the new 30 came in, good luck.
So exactly. Email him every day until you get a response.
That's true.
What the key is.
It is true.
So email replaced what? What did email replace?
We talked about this
Writing
as well.
letters?
Well,
No, there was a thing. It had a name. What was that? Before voicemail, what was the thing that we replaced?
A letter.
No, in business, you were writing memorandums.
Yeah, memos.
All right, you have memo.
Oh, okay.
And if I were to say, okay, Steve, I'm writing a memorandum to you, a formalized, dear Mr. Goodman, and I sit it in your inbox, which used to be on your desk, and I sat it out. You literally picked up your memorandums and you went through the pieces of paper. Now, imagine if I tried that communication now, and Ingram Leedy sent you a formalized writing. You know what you would think you need to do? Clean out your desk.
or patience or patience. It's like I gave you that memo a day ago. Why haven't you finished it yet? He goes, I got 60 of them yesterday. Let me,
the amount of energy it would take to write the memo, think about the memo, formalize the menu, then transfer the memo, and then respond to the memo, do the work for the memo, then probably write another memo back to respond. I mean, that's just days, weeks wasted, months.
When people would tell me stories of how business ran in the 60s, these old codgers would be like, "Oh, son, let me tell you, Tiger, how things were." I was a sales guy.
A lot more drinking, I think.
Yeah, there was a lot more drinking. But
smoking everywhere.
So let's say I'm going to sell some IBM product to this guy here. So I would get on a plane and I'd fly to Peoria, and I would meet with them, and there'd be a lot of women and scotch. And then we'd agree on the deal, right? And then I'd go and I'd have something written up and mailed to them, which they would read through on paper and get everybody in a meeting. And then they would sign it and they'd send it back. And then that went to fulfillment, which was sent by mail, to fulfillment, which would put together the order and distribution. And that would get sent by mail. I'm like, so how long was the turnaround time for like a printer? Oh, a month. You just think.
And now it's just like click buy now on our website. The order gets fulfilled and sent directly to them.
Could you imagine the economy would come to a grinding halt?
Well, that's probably why a printer would cost an arm and a leg too.
Right. Yeah. I want to buy a computer.
They're spending $40,000 on a printer.
Right. Yeah, and it was just like, how long does it take? You could get this order fulfilled if we rush it. 3 weeks, man. That part will be on.
And now you're doing like same day delivery on Amazon Prime for something.
Now drone flies to your house and drops it off.
Yeah.
So that business process was held back by technology, but at a level of formality. Where's the check? Check's in the mail, right? There's all this.
Well, there was the face to face too. It's like we have tons of clients buying stuff on our website. We have no idea who they are.
Yeah, I don't know what the right answer is, man. I don't know if that's better or this is better. That was certainly slower.
It was slower, but when you were face to face, you could have maybe done other business with them.
Right.
Well, you developed a relationship. That's the difference.
Right.
Yeah. So like with Amazon, and this is probably the biggest problem with Amazon that people would say is that, with Amazon, it's a faceless transaction. With going down to your local, Main Street and purchase from a store, you develop a relationship.
Right.
But you could also argue that price of that item you buy on Main Street is probably
not worth the relationship.
It's 100 times more.
Right.
Yeah. So you're balancing cost versus relationships, right?
There was a picture I saw on the internet years ago, and it was like Bob, and it's like Bob has an opinion, and here's an audience. So opinion plus audience plus anonymity equals asshat. Like that was all about
this is a cat video that you sent out to me, right?
It was all kind of the, what has been lost in the internet era. Trolls are not new, right? Jerks that just want to piss you off. That's not new. But if they have to do it in person, you have to see them. They were more scared of the social consequences.
Yeah, but you can't argue that communication has changed the world. It's brought people closer together in a way that's never been possible before. It's taken the world and shrunk it down to a smaller size. So, I mean, technology has made communication and relationships easier, but yet there's more of them to do. Right. To me, that work anywhere thing, that was probably, to me personally, it was probably my biggest fear of doing it was that I don't know if I could work in a coffee shop.
It's easier than you think it is.
Yeah.
Once a week, I go to downtown Winter Garden, and I go to the Axum coffee place, and then I go to the Crooked Can Brewery for lunch. I do it every Friday. Mm-hmm. I'm there from maybe 9 o'clock to noon at the coffee shop.
So tell me about the coffee shop. So you're at the coffee shop. Like, are you got headsets on? Like, are you tune out the world? Like, or can you be like doing stuff without that?
No, so I'm wearing my headphones to make the calls. It's almost like there's a lot of energy coming from other people because there's at this particular coffee shop, and it's kind of a bougie part of town, but they have 2 or 3 giant tables, and there's always I was there yesterday. I was having a call with somebody, and behind me was a WordPress group. These guys were all coming in.
Nick Gernert's company.
Yeah. It was a group of people that they met on the internet, and they were all individual WordPress people, and they were sitting there talking about WordPress. I sat next to a guy, and we were laughing at because they're being nerdy about WordPress and they're being loud about it. And what he does is he does high end audio design for corporations, high end like conference rooms and things like that. And you look around and you see a smattering of like college students, businessmen, sitting here doing the same thing. So there's this buzz, this energy where you're kind of like collaborating on it, and everyone's got some device, and they're working on either homework or business. And it's almost easier to focus there because it's almost easier like I can get through my, everybody here, we're working on it together. And then at noon I stop and I go to the brewery and have a beer at a mixed stagger at Crooked Can. And then I flip over my laptop and I look around and there's a couple other guys having a beer, sitting at one of the tables, having a discussion. And then they're talking to Bob and Joe and Mary. And it's like you have this culture.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah.
Do you think you're not distracted because no one's actually like directing any of that at you?
And this is just like kooky talk, but I think people need people. And you to feed off
just
other people.
To be in proximity.
Just energy. You need. Some people, they say, what's the difference between the introvert and the extrovert? It's not really necessarily how they act. It's the energy system, how they're getting their energy. The introvert needs to recharge by himself. He needs to be by himself, and he can recharge. He can be social, but there comes a time where he must close the door and recharge. While the extrovert's backwards. He can be by himself in silence, but he has to be around people to get energy. So something about that. I can't sit in the practice room. I couldn't sit in the practice room every day for 2 hours. I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit. The silence was killing me. So I would go to the auditorium, or I would go to the dance department, or I would go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And with how we built our businesses 20 years ago, we'd build a fortress, or we built a fortress around our data. And you have to walk into the fortress and scan your key card and sit down at your cubicle of death. And then
that's true.
And then then technology was like, well, the building is getting expensive. And the rent is going up, and now there's lawsuits, and blah 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 blah. And we started poking holes. We're not selling fast enough. We're not selling the product fast enough. Go out to China. Go here. Go there. So we started poking holes in the fortress. Poke holes in the fortress. VPN tunnels, and then Outlook Anywhere, and all these things. So now we built this huge fortress. We're poking holes in it. Now we can't function. Right now we have security. Now we have to ramp up security again because we poked holes in the fortress. And so we've come to today, which is a decentralized. There are no fortresses. We don't have a fortress. Our data lives in the cloud, which is the fortress. Now we need to learn to work in a new way. And with the modern tools, with 365 and Teams and whatnot, you get to figure out how you become the best employee. And the tools are there for you to do it. And you don't have to be in the enterprise. When I worked at IBM, we'd have something called the IBM, what's it called? The Internet System Software Installer. So if you said, I'm working on client B, and I need Office 95 or Office 97, whatever it was, you'd go to this specific website, you'd put in your IBM serial, you'd press the button, it would download. And you had any program under IBM that would let you, anything you were allowed to have, you could get. Sounds like Intune.
Yeah.
Right, sounds like cloud-based. But it was all maintained and serialized and very proprietary and all internally. To think that we are 11 years down the line and now it's everybody can get it for $6 a month.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Right.
It's insane. But that's where we are. Right? So your organization can figure out, you can have the fortress, you can work outside the fortress, you can have all that. It's all there for you today. You just got to know it's there.